Hey, everybody. Welcome to Away Games, Chicago Cubs baseball podcast. I'm Kevin McCaffrey, and Adam Mamawala is not here today. He knows what he did, actually, and he will be, as soon as the courts figure it out, he'll be back. But until then, you can go see him in Colorado. I think he's bouncing around Colorado this weekend, hanging out with Chris Bryant and doing some comedy shows. But we do have, I said this is a Chicago Cubs baseball podcast. It's less Cubs, more baseball today, because we're going to talk about the World Baseball Classic, preview that a little bit. And I am not alone. I have a guest here, someone who knows a lot more about international baseball than me and World Baseball Classic stuff. You know her from probably Cubs Twitter. It's Infield Fly Girl. What's up?
Hi, Kevin. Thank you so much for having me here.
Thank you so much for joining. I love seeing the podcast background you have going on here. There is a lot of good merch. What are some of your favorites that you have lined up behind you?
Yeah, there's so much chaos going on here. I have a banner from the Yakult Swallows. So there is your favorite mascot's favorite mascot. That's Subakuro. He's a swallow. He loves beer.
Hell
and
yeah.
He negotiates his salary in Yakult every year.
He's doing the Lamar Jackson style. He negotiates for himself.
That's right. He does not have an agent, though. The Chunichi Dragons mascot Doala, who is a koala/dragon hybrid, he has served as Subakuro's agent in the past. It didn't work out well for him. He got fired.
Well, that's too bad. That is, I feel like that's a level of intra franchise cooperation that we don't really see in the States that much, I don't think.
Yeah, they have a lot of fun together, those two.
Yeah.
I have all of my World Baseball Classic stuff is up here, and like my WBSC stuff. So I've got like a bunch of World Baseball Classic cards. I've got my towel, my Team Taiwan towel from the Premier 12. I've got some really great Cubs stuff over here. There's Kosuke Fukudome. I've got some paintings from Matt Made a Thing, Matt Camera Art. He is so great. He does these paintings of Cubs on little maps of Chicago.
Oh, that's cool. I see the Kerry Wood thing. I've got some. I very stupidly have, just because due to natural light, my background is my Cubs corner is sort of completely off camera for me, but I got some Kerry Wood stuff as well, some newspaper clippings and stuff. Yeah. That's great. I didn't realize you had WBC specific merch back here. How appropriate for how today is.
Absolutely. I love the World Baseball Classic. It's my favorite thing in baseball.
And were you into it like pretty much from like the first one of the WBCs?
Yeah, I've been into like international sports probably more than straight up American sports most of my life. I was really into I actually got started with figure skating. I got super into like Christy Yamaguchi was the coolest thing in the world when I was a little kid.
Yamaguchi is the first. I feel like you're younger than I am, but Yamaguchi was the first. I think the first time I remember in person, not in person, I wasn't there, but like watching someone win a gold medal on TV in the moment was, I think, her.
Absolutely. And so I was obsessed. And so I've always followed international sports whenever I can find them. Yeah. And of course, you know, baseball is my thing. So yeah, I got into that pretty early on. And I always just like pick a country and root for them and see how far they go. But, you know, the last few years, I've really gotten into a lot of the Asian leagues. So, of course, I'm here supporting Team Taiwan.
Okay.
And I'm hoping they go as far as they can go. And then, of course, you know, I'm pretty sure that Samurai Japan and probably Team Dominicana, which are two other leagues that I follow. You know, I follow NPB and the Dominican Winter League as well.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and
rooting for my boys there.
Yes, and also thanks especially for joining us today, because I know just from Twitter it seems like you've been putting in the late nights already. We're 2 days in, which is perfectly timed for how we do previews usually. It's like the thing has started. It has begun, things have happened. So how have the first 2 nights been for you? Bullen, it seems like and also, what is your sleep strategy here? Are you just rolling straight into it? Are you napping before you do the overnights right now?
This is a great question. Yes. I don't sleep much, just sort of as a rule. I got started watching what I call midnight baseball, and on the East Coast we call it breakfast baseball. in 2020 when the CPBL was doing English broadcasts on Twitter. I was working third shift at the time, so I was just like at work watching baseball, and now I just
very efficient. Yeah.
I just don't sleep. So like last night, I watched the late night game with Australia, Korea, and then I took a nap for a couple hours, and then I watched the Ohtani game, and then I crashed for a couple hours before coming here to talk to you.
Okay, I have not seen anything so far. So the Ohtani game, Ohtani was pitching this morning. Is that right?
Yeah.
How'd it go?
So he pitched against Team China. Which, everybody's like, oh my gosh, we're just going to mercy rule these guys out as soon as the fifth inning hits. But I think to my eyes, it looked like Samurai Japan knew full well that they did not have to put 100% effort into this game. And so you saw a lot of little things like guys taking swings when maybe they shouldn't have, just sort of like testing out what's going on and feeling things out, and maybe making some moves on the base pass that are more like testing the field and the defense.
Sure.
Yeah.
Having a little bit of a goof out there.
a little bit, because they're gonna go up against Korea tonight, which is so Japan has to face Korea. So doing that, 24 hours afterward, you're not going to waste all your effort on Team China, which just doesn't have the skill to beat you guys anyway. I think it ended up being 8-1.
Gotcha. And also China just hasn't officially played in a bit, right? Like they haven't played, their league hasn't been going in terms of games, right?
Yeah, that's right. There's been some games here and there, but as far as the actual league in China operating, either the CBL or the CNBL, I'm not really sure which one they're going as right now. I'm pretty sure it's a CNBL, but they haven't had an actual season since 2019.
Okay, gotcha. So who is you said you're going? Who's the infield fly girl pick of the tournament? I guess two questions is pick who you rooting for, who you going with this time, and then who are you? I know you're not gambling on it, but who would the money be on for you?
My heart is with Team Taiwan. I want them to do as well as possible. I also have really big feelings for Team Great Britain. I want them to do well. I don't think they're going to get out of their group, but I just want them so bad to put on a good show.
I'm so Irish. I shouldn't, but they have, just looking at Great Britain's roster, is one of the weirdest. Where did these people? How did they get here? Rosters of all of them, I feel like, and I think there's also a couple of, isn't BJ Murray? There's a Cubs prospect over there too, I think, right?
I think so. Yeah. Off the top of my head, I can tell you, but as far as just building the sport in Great Britain goes, I'm Irish as well. You're not going to find any great love for the English here, but
sure.
800 years of oppression.
We can take away. Yes, we can take a week off. I can hear my
dad in my head now, but yes. As far as just building the sport in Great Britain, I just have such a big heart for those fans over there who are, they're building it up from the ground up on their own. They don't have the 150 years of history going on there. And yet, that there's a whole lot of excitement there. There's a lot of love for their team. So I want to see them put on a good show.
That's cool.
And so, and then as far as who I actually think is going to take it, I think there's a really good chance that our final is going to end up being Samurai Japan and Team Dominicana.
Okay, yeah, I feel like the Dominican Republic's team, just lineup wise, looks the most serious to me out of dudes I know, at least. And I know there's a ton of dudes that I am not super familiar with from especially the more Eastern leagues too. But
yeah, absolutely. I think Japan is a fantastic team. I think I would have probably put a little bit more behind Korea, but then they lost last night, so they now pretty much have to win everything to keep going.
Yeah. Okay. So that's also a good question too, because I don't fully know the format here. This is what I know about the World Baseball Classic, besides just dudes whose names I know. I know that the Netherlands are either call themselves, or someone calls them, the honk ballers. I know that. I saw that, and I like it a lot. And then I know Eric Sogard's on the Czech Republic, so I don't want them to win. Those are basically my two outside sort of bits of knowledge coming in. But they have this is sort of two pools is where we're coming from in group play.
Yeah, so we have 4 pools.
Okay.
There's Pool A is in Taichung, Taiwan, and Pool B is in Tokyo, and then C and D are in Miami and Arizona. Xander, you're gonna have to go. Sorry, my cat. My cat loves making podcast appearances.
I enjoy it. Very, very subtle with the tail just going by, very cartoonishly, just a hint of Xander. And what is and Xander? I mean, obviously, this is a very baseball named cat too, right? What is the full name of the kitty?
His name is Alexander Guinness Humphrey Bogarts.
Oh, fantastic. We got Hollywood, we got baseball. That's a lot going on.
Yes. So Alexander Guinness Humphrey Bogarts, he's going to sleep in a drawer now. What were we saying? We were saying
just so we got 4 pools.
Yes,
yeah, and like
where
this is happening and when.
Right.
Yeah.
So we have Taichung, Tokyo, Miami, and Arizona, and then the top 2 teams from each of these pools. There's 5 teams in each pool. The top 2 will move on to the quarterfinals round, which from that point on is single elimination through the end of the tournament.
Cool. And that goes through basically, we're talking what? It's like March 22nd or something like that. It's towards the end of the month, I think, right?
Yeah, it's going to be a little bit. So basically, like in Pool B, for example, where it's Team Japan, you've got Japan and Korea, Australia.
Is that Taiwan or no?
No. Taiwan is Pool A.
Okay.
So they're hosting Pool A.
Gotcha.
And that's gonna have Cuba and Cuba, the Netherlands, and anyway,
it is weird
with them all straight.
Yeah, it's tough. Also, especially with our honk ballers, they're the Netherlands, but like all the players are from are from the other Netherlands affiliated places. They're not from like Northern Europe, really, for the most part.
Because colonialism.
Yes.
So yeah, it's the Kingdom of the Netherlands. So Team Netherlands used to include, Netherlands itself, and then also the Dutch Antilles. In 2012, I think the Dutch Antilles split up. So now Aruba and Curacao are like they're Netherlands affiliated, but not like completely politically owned by them. And then Bonaire is something else entirely, and it's all very confusing. So they're just like, we're just going to be the Kingdom of the Netherlands, which is all of us.
Yes.
So they get to wear purple and root for William the Orange, and
that's good. You don't hear in a normal baseball season, especially spring training, William the Orange isn't getting too many shout outs, I feel like, usually. So big tournament for him, I guess.
Yeah. Somebody asked me, they're like, why is Netherlands all wearing orange? And I'm like, it's because of William of Orange. It's a nod to the royal family of the Netherlands.
Yeah. But still very into their house, the House of Orange over there. I have a weird side gig where occasionally I just like write quizzes for things online, and it's a lot of them are just like it's some of the assignments just seem like a prank or a dare where they assign me like write a quiz about the 20 famous estuaries, and I'm like, there are simply not that. But they did one that was all about the Netherlands recently, so I got a lot of Netherlands in my head right now, bizarrely. But okay, so basically we're talking from the pools, like, so I assume 2 teams are going to advance from each pool, and then that gets to your single elimination, which I fucking love the single elimination part of this, because it's so like rarely baseball. That's one of the things that I miss the most about like the old playoff format, even though it came up rarely, the weird 1-game playoff, the earned 1-game playoff, I should say, when 2 teams were actually that equal.
Yeah, I like it because you have to earn your way out of the group. You can't lose too many games against these people.
Yeah.
And, if Australia wins out of the group, they earned that. Like, they were going up against teams that are way better than they are. So good for them.
Well, and they beat Korea, you said.
Yeah, and they beat Korea, like, legitimately.
Right.
Korea gave up 3 home runs and 3 toot lands, and it was a whole thing. It was this absolutely bananas put out on second base, where this dude's like, yeah, I got on to second base, and stepped off second base and got himself tagged out.
It's very.
Buddy, you can't do that.
No, it's one of the first rules they put in there. Also, I think I neglected to mention before, but follow Infield Fly Girl at Infield Fly GRL is if you don't follow IFG over here, follow her there because I think that's when I just logged on to Twitter. That was the last thing I saw you post. I think was about our wandering friend off second base for Korea.
Yes, dumb ways to die. Yeah. So. Yeah, but it's great because then after that pool round, after you earn your way out of the round, then baseball chaos takes over and anything can happen, so that one loss won't necessarily get Korea out of the quarters and it won't necessarily get Australia in, but now Australia is way closer than they were before.
Yeah, and then it turns into like almost single elimination, as you say, for Korea at this point, even out of the group, which is why I do enjoy where the World Baseball Classic is set in the year right now, because I did try to watch some spring training games and I do enjoy. I've been to spring training a couple of times. I enjoy doing that. That was fun. But otherwise, watching the spring training games for me, especially this year as a Cub person too, I fall asleep. I fall asleep, and they are. I can't believe how bad some of the games are, just in terms of how they're playing. So it's really nice to see, even if there's some goofs like wandering off second base. It's nice to see when the games matter to these people.
Yes.
Like at this point, if we're going to do baseball, it's nice to have a place where shit matters to anybody.
Exactly. I feel the same way. I tend to like check in on spring training here and there, but I don't live and die with every pitch in spring training. You know what I mean? Like you're watching people exercise. You're going to check in on the kids and be like, okay, this kid is doing okay. Maybe that will transfer to the regular season if he doesn't get shuffled down to the minors for some reason.
Yeah.
And it's whatever. But in this case, you have guys who are really wanting to be there, and it's to a lesser extent with Team USA. I think a lot of the guys on Team USA maybe all ready to have all of their bragging rights with their MLB affiliation, and they don't quite feel the patriotism behind playing for USA. Some of them do. And
right. I feel like last WBC it was actually pretty good that way. Was Adam Jones? Was that last WBC when it was Adam Jones and Stroman? Gosh. It feels so long ago.
2017. Yes.
Yeah.
Because the WBC should have been in 2021.
Right.
But then plague happened, so we got pushed off a couple of years. But yeah, the last one was in 2017, and I do agree that year I think there was a lot more of I'm going to go and put on the stripes and play for my country.
It seemed to matter. They seemed to get psyched about it, which was good. Yeah,
and I feel like a lot of the Team USA side this year has been like, should they even be participating? And I have a hard time getting behind that. So I like to root for the guys who are like, I'm a high school teacher in the Czech Republic, and I'm going to play baseball against some of the best baseball players in the world.
Totally. I love it.
I might get annihilated, but we're going to try.
Yeah, I like it. I like it when it's anything, whether it's like showbiz or like showbiz or like even on a game show or like this, where someone gets like a moment that they will get to remember forever and otherwise would never like have. This is going to be something that these guys are showing clips of to their grandkids, and like they got one big moment. They got an opposite field single off Shohei Ohtani once, and then they have to go back to their 9 to 5 is very compelling to me.
There was a kid last night who struck out Shohei Ohtani. He's 19 years old. He struck out Shohei Ohtani. Legitimately. Shohei swung and he did not hit the ball. This kid got a swinging strikeout on Shohei Ohtani. His great-grandchildren will hear this story.
Yeah, it's very cool.
There was a kid who got a hit off of Shohei Ohtani last night. He's going to talk about that forever.
Yeah.
I think it's awesome.
It's nice to have moments that matter. And separately, something I really like about the WBC is sort of like a little bit how golf is with the Ryder Cup, where I'm not watching golf on a week-to-week basis, but it's a sport where, and this also is like different culturally in terms of how emotional guys tend to be in baseball and stuff. But I think there's a significant portion of baseball players who tend to be a little more I don't know, buttoned up or less emotive on the field. And in the Ryder Cup, the golfers all go nuts. For like a week, they act like they're on a team and they're fist pumping and going crazy. And so it's nice to see that sort of a departure. And I think the WBC gives us a little bit of that too, where guys are like going nuts for their team a little bit more than we're used to seeing, or at least I guess than I'm used to seeing watching American baseball.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think a lot of that is helped along with the atmospheres in some of these different locations. Like when we're playing outside of parks in the United States, you go to in baseball games in Japan or Korea or Taiwan where, they have an entire cheer team that's leading the crowd in very like every player has their own song that plays when they're at bat and the entire crowd chants it and everybody not only knows their name but knows something cool about them and knows how to do the song and dance for them. That's so cool.
It's very fun, and that's something that like a lot of other sports like that happens in soccer, European soccer all the time, like having individual songs for teams, but we don't see that in American baseball a ton. So that's a question I have of the other venues, and this could also be like country, stadium, whatever. What is your favorite vibe of these other places in terms of like the game day experience? So you're talking about the cheerleaders. That happens in what leagues now?
That's Japan, Taiwan, and Korea.
Okay.
I say the most fun for your money is going to be the Taiwanese league, the CPBL. It's so much fun. It's like going to like you go there and it's the cheerleaders and there's techno music and everybody's got their own song and everybody's on their feet the entire time and the away fans are banished to the outfield so they have to cheer as loud as possible to even be heard. Yeah. And like people have got their towels they're waving around like this thing here and they just it's such a vibe. Everybody gets so behind it. They've got like little games that go on in between the innings. There's a 5-minute break after the 5th inning where cheerleaders come out and they do a whole like K-pop dance and it's fantastic. It's so much fun. They really do take baseball as entertainment and just ratchet it to as far as they can go.
That's cool. And the venues there's games being played in Japan right now, right? Japan is one of the sites. And then
they're playing at the Tokyo Dome.
Okay. And then isn't there another one in Asia too? Because they're being played there and then in the United States, right?
Yeah. So Japan at the Tokyo Dome, they're playing in Taiwan in Taichung Intercontinental Baseball Stadium. They're playing in Arizona at Truist Park.
Sure, which sounds less fun. And as a stadium name.
Yeah, and in Miami at I think Marlins Park or something like that.
That's nice. That's nice to get people in that stadium who care what happens. That must be interesting for them.
Novel concept.
Yeah, yes, for that little bit of Earth that I would be fine if we just like sawed it off and shoved it into the sea, which is also how I feel about Long Island. I've said it many times. Technically, I'm on it currently, but Queens I will count as not that. So, in terms of players, are there players that you have that are personal faves that you've seen that maybe people here don't know that are particularly fun dudes to look out for?
Yeah, I've got it. I mean, I have my millions of favorites. Let's see.
Your team is the Monkeys, is that correct?
Yes, my team is the Monkeys. I have 5 Monkeys on the Team Taiwan roster this year, so that's a lot of fun. You get
very well represented. Yeah.
Yes, you get to see Lin Lee, who won the CPBL Triple Crown last year. He is such a good hitter. It's fantastic. You get to see Ching Chin, who they call him the substitute teacher because he was born looking like he's 45 with a mortgage, but he's like 23, and he's also the outfield vacuum cleaner.
Tremendous nicknames.
Yes, I love this. We get to see
these are great nicknames in the way that, like, when you look at American blockbuster movies translated to like Japan names, like they just go completely off the rails in translation in a way that's like, I know exactly what you're saying. We would never phrase anything that way here, but it's very.
But I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yes, exactly.
We have my favorite relief pitcher who, if you follow me on Twitter, I occasionally have to bully my Monkeys to like give him more money. His name is Chen Yixun, and he has the CPBL like closer record, single season, something or other. He's the first pitcher in the CPBL to have both 100 saves and 100 holds.
Oh, okay.
So yeah,
nice.
His
Smoltzian
nickname,
almost. Yeah.
yes.
Yes.
His nickname is Xiangqiang, which is Xiangqiang, which if he's really good that day means the mayor or the township chief, and if he's bad that day it means sausage.
Sure. Inside you, there are two wolves. You are either
Exactly.
the chief or the sausage, depending on vibe. That's very fun. We don't have enough. We don't have enough sort of vibe changing one word nicknames here that can go either way. I feel like that is
it's great.
That's
great.
a good innovation.
And I'll give you one more. I'll give you the nicest submariner you ever did see, Huang Sepong, number 69.
I mean,
also known as.
Go ahead.
He's also known as the Hands of Buddha because he has a million different arm slots.
Fantastic. That's almost too many things for one dude to have. Obviously, we got the number. The name is lyrical in a way that rhymes with itself, which you love. Huang Sepong is fun to say.
Huang Sepong. Yep.
Yes. Team-wise, are there any teams out here that like particularly hate each other? Are there rivalries that we should look at is there any personal distaste between teams that we know of? I mean, I guess these are teams that probably just don't play each other that much. So I don't know if there would be, but.
So as far as, you're always going to have like some people who, yes, they have very strong feelings one way or the other. Yeah. Some of like the fun part of the rivalry that you'll see is like between some of the Asian leagues, you'll have Japan versus Taiwan and Korea, which like Taiwan has been colonized by both of those countries. So
yeah.
So they try really extra hard to beat them, Taiwan versus China is always a really big deal when that happens.
Totally. And it sounds like Taiwan would be favored probably right now, right?
Between Taiwan and China, yes.
Yeah, right?
I'm almost, that's probably why they're not in the same group this year.
Yeah.
So far, I don't think Taiwan's ever beaten China in the World Baseball Classic.
Okay.
So, and they won't even face each other this year.
Okay, right. They would have to like both advance to the next thing, which is especially unlikely for China. It's not going to happen for China. Right. Gotcha. Are there any like specific games you have marked on here that you're particularly looking forward to matchup wise coming up?
Yeah, I absolutely have to see Japan versus Korea. I think that's tonight. I want to see, let's see, who do we have going? Oh, well, I think I already missed Dominican Republic versus Venezuela because I had to sleep. At some point, though, we'll see Dominicana versus Puerto Rico. That one's going to be a ton of fun.
That's very fun. I did probably I guess the main international baseball thing I've ever done is I went to the Caribbean series in I guess it would have been 2015. Because I think it was when Javi was he was like on the roster at first, and then he got pulled back off the roster right at the last minute. But yeah, those games were crazy and very loud. I went to a bunch, and the rough morning hangover games with especially Team Mexico. There was just like a crank that would never stop, and Team Mexico had a nice group of people in costume. There was a devil. There was a cow. There was a lot of telenovela stuff going on there. You had your classic Bumblebee. Everyone was there. But yeah, Dominican and Puerto Rico was, I think of the games I went to, was the one that was like the only one that was legit fully sold out, I think, and seemed very intense.
They have such an amazing vibe. And if you ever have if you're ever like in the baseball off season going, gosh, football's not enough for me, it's only once a week, I really do recommend grabbing onto one of those like Caribbean area winter leagues, or even Australia is a great winter league too. They're actually a little bit later, so you can get into like Lidom or the Clemente League or even the Mexican Winter League, and then follow Australia when they're done.
That's fun.
You really don't have to have an off season if you don't want one.
Yeah, it seems to, and also in the sort of the way we're saying about WBC, it seems like just seeing highlights from the Dominican League and the Venezuelan League and stuff, it seems like these are teams and fan bases that really give a shit about what's happening, like about the results as opposed to what we're talking about in spring training. Like it seems like the games and the results of who wins this thing really matters to who's there.
Absolutely. Absolutely. There's so much passion there. And, being able to be like, hey, my country the boys from my country went up there and they did the thing.
Mm-hmm.
It means so much to these crowds. And it really does come across, like in the ballpark. It's such an electric atmosphere.
Yeah. It's also a fun one for just like remember some dudes, like looking at these rosters. There's I saw Jair Jurgens was on a roster. I was like, I remember that guy. That's a guy I haven't thought of in a long time. Just popping up on a roster. Even dudes who might be substitute teachers now, but used to have a genuine baseball career. Is there anyone particularly who's caught your eye that way in terms of
Yoenis Cespedes was playing last night.
Is he retired as far as Major League Baseball goes?
I don't think officially. I think he's just unemployed.
He's just tired.
But Miles Mastrobuoni bounced a ball out of Cespedes' glove for an RBI yesterday. So that was good stuff.
There we go. That's a Cub, I'm told at this point, a new Cub. Cool. I think that's most of my WBC questions for the most part. Are there any other stray WBC thoughts you have, vibes, things you've seen so far in the first couple days of sleepless nights that you've been doing?
It's been so fun so far, and the upsets are pretty wild. I wasn't expecting Panama to beat Taiwan as badly as they did. That one hurt me in my heart. It really gonna need them to win a couple games really fast. And
Panama had underperformed to this point too. Historically,
absolutely.
right?
I was looking at them going, there's absolutely no way. We're just gonna beat Panama really easy. You don't have to worry about it. It did not work out that way. Similarly, had no expectation that Australia was going to beat Korea. That did not even register as a thought in my head. So we'll see how that goes.
Yeah.
So that's, I don't know. It's fun.
And one more time, what's your pick for the final? You've got Team Dominicana against Japan is the pick?
Yeah, Samurai Japan versus Dominicana final, I think. And I think Samurai Japan wins in extra innings after bunting over a runner after I yell at them about it.
That's a good specific pick. Also, just as we're talking about the last time, when Team USA went all the way in 17, Stroman was kind of the guy on that team pitcher-wise, and now he's with Puerto Rico this time, which with every tweet I see from him, I'm more fine with him going anywhere else, I guess. But he's going to be one of their lead pitchers now, I guess, right? Is there any other? I guess this is a tough one off the cuff. But are there any other team swappers? This is not a case. It's not like the Olympics where if you show up for one country, that's your team. You can kind of bounce around WBC to WBC. It seems like.
Yeah, the rule generally is if you have enough of a genetic claim that you can qualify for a passport from that country, they'll let you play there. Gotcha. And it's mostly to encourage MLB players to be involved in these other teams to sort of, increase the competitive balance or something. So you end up with basically, Team Italy and Team Israel are basically Team USA 2.0 and 3.0 at this point.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. These aren't, I don't think they don't seem to be countries that have domestic leagues going in too big a sense, right?
They absolutely have leagues, and for the Premier 12 and some of the other WBSC events, they absolutely do put forth teams, and those teams do participate, and sometimes they even do fairly well. But as far as the level of competition they're pretty happy to get the MLB players involved.
And which one is the Premier 12? Which league is that?
Yeah, so the Premier 12 is an international tournament put on by the World Baseball Softball Confederation. So the last one was in 2019 in the winter. That was the one where Seiya Suzuki won MVP. Samurai Japan took it all. Dude put up like ridiculous video game numbers. So the second I heard he was being posted, I was like, "Hey, Cup, get that guy!"
Hell yeah! Who is of people, Japan or otherwise? Is there anyone who is that person for you now? Who is the person outside of Shohei Ohtani who is the person who you're like, I would like the Cubs to get?
Yeah. So there are two right now that are playing for Samurai Japan. One is a hitter and one is a pitcher. There's Roki Sasaki, who is very young and an amazing pitcher. He is probably the most unhittable pitcher in the world right now. It's bananas. I hope that the Marines throw him so much money to never leave Japan. I want that skill staying right where it is, making those hitters better. But if he does get posted, Cubs should get.
Yes.
Munetaka Murakami is so fun. He is on the Yakult Swallows in Japan. He has just set the single season home run record for a player born in Japan with 56 home runs.
Nice.
He is so very good at murdering the baseball.
Yes. Is that, and he's an infielder, correct? Is that third baseman? Yes. Is that right? He's playing third right now?
Corner guy.
Yeah.
Pick a corner.
Sweet. Well, thanks for the WBC preview, IFG, and so thank you for joining me. Before I let you go, I do want to know also what are your vibes as a Cub person now? We'll get the Cub part of the podcast in at the end here. How are you feeling as the year begins? Where are your spirits at? Where's your enthusiasm at with this team? It's something I'm spiritually struggling with right now, is one reason I ask. But,
yeah, I think I'm right there with you. As far as struggling, I am having a very hard time being truly excited about the team. I think I've forgotten how to just cruise through bad seasons. Probably because they spent years promising me I'd never have to do it again.
Yeah, and to me, it's a very key difference. If I believe that you, as my team, doesn't know any better, if I believe you're just dumb or bad, that's fine. I entered this agreement it was before I remembered, but like I came here, I'm here. If I believe that you just don't know how to do it better, then I'm like, all right, I have more patience. But once I feel like this is a choice that you're doing this, and you're doing this in a cynical sense in a way, which is I think a lot of where my negative vibes come from in recent times, it's so much harder to get on board with like hope for a coin toss at the wild card. When I know you're doing this to me intentionally, it seems it's harder.
Yeah, that's how I feel about it right now. I feel like the second they expanded the playoffs, they went, hold on, let's get our actuaries involved. Let's figure out exactly how little we have to do to have a shot at the wild card. And then every time we make it, we can brag that we got into the playoffs again.
Yeah.
Then we can just be like, oh, we've got so many year streak of making it into the playoffs because we're a 500 team. And like, I have a really hard time getting riled up for that.
Yeah, me too. Same. I'm trying to this is me on my own spiritual journey talking to other people who I know specifically really love the Cubs, and I'm like, I don't want to be a negative Nelly, who I'm sure maybe that is also the nickname of one of the players somewhere on one of these WBC teams, along with the actuary. But I'm also struggling with it, which I think is kind of nice. It makes it even nicer that the WBC is happening right now,
Absolutely. There are a lot of names on the backs of jerseys to get excited about on the Cubs and on other teams. And I find myself, the older I get, becoming much more of a back of the jersey fan. I like to see the good boys do good things. I like to see people who are trying hard do their best. I like to see people who have struggled do better. And I love the old guys who simply refuse to stop playing.
Hell yeah. And Fukudome is right there behind you, is one of the legends of the refuse to stop playing game in recent times.
He just retired at the end of last season at 45 years old, and now he's doing color commentary on Japanese baseball radio.
That's very fun. That's a good Cub. Well, thanks for joining me, IFG. You can follow Infield Fly Girl at Infield Fly GRL. Is there anywhere else people should holler at you? Should be tracking you besides like Twitter and stuff?
Yeah, Twitter is where you're going to get most of my baseball content. I'm also on Instagram if you want to follow me there. And I'm just getting started on TikTok, which is not at all baseball content.
There you go. Yeah, shake it up a little bit. Sweet. Well, thank you for joining us. And yeah, Adam will be back next week. Follow us at Away Games Pod on all the things. You know where those things are at. Thanks for listening. Go watch some WBC. We'll catch you next week.